here in Richmond. They'll be given the green light and we'll be underway. And I think what's really important here in this first game is who gets to go first.
Yeah, that is definitely significant. The Dredge deck is one of those decks that the first 2 turns of the game, sometimes it looks like not a lot is going on. And then all of a sudden, turn 3, they've got this giant board state. And you're just like, oh, when did this happen? You know? And so being able to establish that and potentially be attacking on turn 4 and 5 instead of the Scapeshift player winning on turn 5 is huge.
For Collins, he's going to start things off with a Valakut. Simply pass the turn back over to Long. For Long, he's going to go down to 17 and get himself a stomping ground. Now, what's interesting about that number is that's 1 less land needed for Scapeshift. An Insolent Neonate is what David will search up as we head back over to we'll play as we head back over to Collins. There's your green source in Windswept Heath. It's an untapped one, which is a pretty big deal. Collins also has a copy of Cinderglade in hand, but that would be entering the battlefield tapped currently. So a basic forest, and there's a mountain that he's going to search up. Just curious which way. It'll be Farseek, so a little shortcutting there. There's your mountain. Save the shuffle plus present twice, and then we're going to head back over to David Long. See if David can get this Dredge engine online right away. He will sacrifice his Insolent Neonate, end of turn. Discarding a Stinkwind Imp, going to dredge a Stinkwind Imp. So dredge 5.
Uh-oh.
Not a great dredge here for David. No dredgers, no prize amalgam, no Narcomoeba, none of it. You see he's going to leave the graveyard, I think, up. He would like to leave the graveyard up front, but I guess we'll have him put it off to the side. Dredge players have a funny way of playing their deck sometime.
Yeah, and it's hard to blame him. I mean, the cards that are most significant are the graveyard cards. So it makes sense to have them front and center where both players can see them easily and interact with them the way that they need to.
David Long, I do not believe, has taken a draw step yet this turn, so he'll draw a card now. Faithless Looting time? Yep. Draw 2, discard 2. That's what the powerful red sorcery does do. Now, it looks like he's picked up a copy of Narcomoeba. He's already got one in his hand, so naturally those aren't where he wants them to be.
Yeah, not the strongest cards to have in your hand. And like I said, sometimes it takes until turn 3 for this deck to really get explosive. And this is one of those games.
There's Blood Crypt. Looks like that's going to enter the battlefield tapped and just going to pass the turn back. Well, Collins Mullen not under any duress just yet as he'll draw a card. He's got 2 copies of Scapeshift in his hand, it looks like. There's a Cinderglade that enters the battlefield untapped. This is a Secure Tribelder. That is a Secure Tribelder. Pass the turn back. Could be a turn 4 kill here on the way, folks, as that is a Stinkweed Imp. Going to dredge 5. An Imp, Belome, a Neonate, a Golgari Thug, and one that we're going to have to take a look at as Collins is already doing that. That's Driven to Despair. Prepare to tilt your necks at least once here. Because that's a 2-of here in David Long's deck, and you got to wonder what the heck is that doing in there. So let's take a look here. Now, for 1 and a green sorcery, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. The Aftermath version, until end of turn, creatures you control gain menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card.
So that's the important part, is the despair. Ideally, he wants to dredge into this with some Narcomoebas, with some of its free creatures in play, the prized amalgams, things like that, and then the next turn be able to just completely strip his opponent's hand.
But the thing that's kind of nice about this is that if you do draw the Driven half, that's okay too.
Oh, you can go crazy dredging.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's not bad. A little bit of an innovation that we haven't seen in Dredge is that new card there from Hour of Devastation.
Yeah, it looks like 2 in the main deck and a 3rd in the sideboard.
Okay, so pretty passionate about that card. Discarding from Faithless Looting after a lot of dredging is what David Long is doing right now, but all he can do is pass the turn back. It's just taking him much too long to assemble a battlefield. Collins Mullen on David's end step is going to sacrifice Secure Tribelder, search up not 1, but 2 lands. And it looks like it's going to be a forest and a mountain.
And when people are getting this many forests, it means Scapeshift.
It's almost time, yeah. Not searching up mountains for prime time. Collins is going to untap now. We know he's already got one copy of Scapeshift in hand. It looked like it was actually 2. So if he's able to draw a land, this game is over. Unless he already has one in his hand, then that makes it super easy. Well, there's a land. And Scapeshift. Making it look pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Dredge deck just did not do anything this game. It literally has not a single non-land permanent on the battlefield.
Yeah. Sacrifice 6 lands. Go get yourself 6 mountains, Dave. Excuse me, Collins. And David will be the loser. Collins will be the winner.
Oh, that's harsh.
Oh, it's just the truth.
Fair enough.
Stomping ground. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mountains. We're all going upstairs. 6 times 3, Craig? Quick math.
17.
Okay, that works for me. That works. Collins Mullen going to win game number 1 here over David Long. Scapeshift very quickly up a game here over Dredges. We said this would basically be a matchup where 2 ships are passing in the night.
Yeah, each just doing what they want to do.
Especially in game number 1, just not a lot of interaction. Now we take a look at the sideboards here, and we're going to start with Long since he'll be on the play for game number 2. 4 Ensnaring Bridge? Nah. 3 Collective Brutality? Okay.
Yeah, these are definitely a possibility. Just having more duress effects against the Scapeshift deck is important.
For Nature's Claim, this is a deck here in Collins. He does play 4 Kalani Heart Expedition, and he plays 3 Prismatic Element, but I still don't love Nature's Claim.
Yeah, I don't think you can bring it in. It's just going to be too mediocre too much of the time.
You got Ancient Grudges and Maelstrom Pulses and that additional copy of Driven to Despair. And for Driven to Despair, I do want the 3rd one of those.
Yeah, I can see that coming in. It's important for him to have some sort of interaction. When he's on the play, it's definitely going to be possible for him to be ahead in the game, get a few creatures on the board early, but he still probably won't be able to win that race. So being able to mind twist his opponent with a Driven to Despair could be huge.
We're going to go over to Collins Mullen, who's got 4 Leyline of Sanctity, 4 Lightning Bolt, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Relic of Progenitus, a Reclamation Sage of Nature's Claim, and that dastardly Chameleon Colossus, which we keep seeing that be a one of in a lot of decks here this weekend. What are we liking from Collins?
For Collins, I would keep it pretty light here. The Anger of the Gods and the Relic of Progenitus, both very strong in this matchup. I don't know if I'd want to go any deeper than that and, dilute the deck from doing what it's trying to do.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They will sideboard, shuffle up. David Long will be on the play. See if he can do a little bit more than he did in game number 1. Otherwise, we're going to move into our backup match here pretty quickly as these players do finish up. Let's talk about the Season 2 schedule of the SCG Tour, where we kick things off with the Season 1 Invitational Weekend that was won by Brian Koval, who is in attendance here this weekend as our defending Invitational champion. Then we have the Cincinnati Open Weekend, which was our first 4 Hour of Devastation, won by an innovative 4-color control deck. After that, we went to our Team Open in Atlanta, which was won by Tom Ross, Jody Keith, and Todd Stevens. Syracuse last weekend, won by Dan Musser with Eldrazi-tron. We'll crown a champion here in Richmond soon enough. Then, in September, bit of a breaker on the SCG Tour before we go over to Louisville. Then we'll do some Standard in Dallas, which will be the Ixalan release weekend. Modern in Charlotte. And as we go to our second page of the schedule, we'll do Cincy for some Modern, Legacy for Washington, D.C., Regionals. We'll have more information at go.starcitygames.com/regionals soon enough. Team Open in Baltimore, and then that Season 2 Invitational Weekend at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia, December 1st through the 3rd. Standard and Modern with a Standard top 8. And as most of you do know at this point, when you do play in our Standard Opens and Classics, you'll get some play mats. Now for Standard, we're talking Bantu the Glorified Invocation style for our Standard Open and Classic players. For Modern, it's going to be our good friend Spell Pierce, which is my favorite artwork that we do have on the SCG Tour right now. And then for Legacy, Days is no slouch for our Legacy Open and Classic players. Free and exclusive playmats with entry into any Season 2 Open or Classic here on the SCG Tour as they get ready here for game number 2 between David Long and Collins Mullen. Dredge via Scapeshift. Craig, what's our count on different decks that we've watched so far?
I think we're up to 11. Maybe it's 12.
Beautiful.
I mean, just the same thing over and over.
Yeah. You know us, always showing the same deck. It's our favorite.
Yeah, it's a dozen decks.
I could just cover Modern.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. If it was just week in and week out Modern.
Yeah. Just
right now, Modern is so fun. There's not one deck that's just oppressive on the format. There's this constant evolution in the metagame because of what's doing well at the time. Like, that's just fun to me. That's great.
So both players are going to take a mulligan and fall down to 6 cards here. So there are decks in Magic that like there are decks that are named after a specific card.
Okay.
Tooth and Nail, Scapeshift, Dragonstorm. And I hate those decks. I never draw the card.
Okay.
Which is completely irrational, but it's just true.
Sure.
I really like the Scapeshift deck. Like a lot.
Oh, you're back in.
Well, it's just like so straightforward, and it just does the same thing every game. And like either it's good or it's not. You know, like there's no wiggle room. It's like, I'm gonna save this ramp spell for later or something. Like, you know. It's just I'm gonna cast all my crap, and either you're dead or you aren't. And I just kind of love it. So if I was playing in a mono tournament, I think I would do that, just for like 1 weekend only. It's just like, all right, are you dead? Cool.
So you might get confused at some point in the tournament where you're like, am I fishbowling or am I playing for like the top 8 of this event?
Yeah, I don't know.
It feels the exact same.
It's just the same match every time. It's just like, I'm just going to ramp and kill you. Oh, you have a discard spell? All right, you win. Like that's, I didn't draw Scapeshift. All right, you win. I didn't draw Primeval Titan. All right, I lose. Like, it just seems kind of fun, even though it's like kind of mindless, but mindless is good sometimes.
Yeah,
Like, you obviously have decisions.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm not going to sell Collins or anyone playing this deck short, but it's just so straightforward. The whole deck is ramp.
Yes.
It's all ramp spells, Primeval Titan, like a Summoner's Pact to search for a Titan, and then, like, lands.
Yeah.
But I just kind of love it.
Yeah. You do you.
Yeah, I just kind of love it. David's going to fall down to 5 here.
Yeah, and I think what put this deck over the top, which might seem obvious to say, is the Hour of Promise, where you can search up for those Valakuts, and then your mid to late game ramp spells that you draw can still nuke the opponent because you've just searched for 2 Valakuts.
I want to get 1 Raging Ravine in the deck.
No, you don't.
It's definitely not good.
No, you don't.
It is definitely not good, but I just want 1 to search for when I got to go through the back door and get them for 4 and then 5 and then 6 because they boarded out all their fatal pushes. What do you think? It's got to be good. It's definitely not good.
Yeah, why don't you just kill them with the Chameleon Colossus, man?
But I can't search for Chameleon Colossus.
No, you can't.
I can search for the Raging Ravine.
Well, you can with
Primeval
Summoner's
Titan.
Pact.
That's true. That's true. I just want like 1 little ravine or like some colorless land or something. I don't know.
Or a colorless land?
Like a Mutavault.
Yeah.
Just 1.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Let's go, little buddy. In for 2.
Oh, what's the new one?
There's like the desert you can activate.
Yeah.
I just want 1 little land.
And people might think you have more deserts in your deck because you're playing the Hour of Promise.
Tricked them. David kept his 5, started things off with the Bloodstained Mire. Collins kept his 6. He'll sacrifice the Wooded Foothills. Down to 19 we go. Could be even lower than that. But he's going to search for a mountain.
Relic of Progenitus is my guess. You?
I was confused for a moment. What you just said makes sense. There we go. I was like, not Forest Search?
Yeah, you thought for sure it was Search for tomorrow.
Yeah. Gonna sacrifice Bloodstained Mire, relic that away.
Ooh, it's so shiny.
It is a shiny one.
And we've got 2 cards tapped opposite directions on the board. Man, someone's got to talk to this kid. Before, he's still young. He could be going down a bad path.
He fixed it.
See?
There you go.
Good kid.
There you go.
Showing a lot of promise.
You got it. You got right to him. Got to keep them all turned the same way. You got to have just, how you play and tap your cards. I don't know. Just such a big deal to me. Just such a big deal.
I don't remember.
It doesn't even matter. It's a big deal to me.
What the matchup was, but I was playing against someone, and I had my lands very neatly arranged, and then I had a few tokens very neatly arranged.
Okay.
And it was a person that thinks with their hands.
Okay.
So there's like, oh, like how many lands do you have? And they reached over and touched my lands.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Not okay.
All of a sudden my lands are not all neatly arranged and straight. And then, obviously I straightened them back out. And then later in the game, they did it again.
Unreal.
Yeah, I was just like, man, one more time, man. One more time. We'll see what happens.
Cathartic Union discarding Stinkweed Imp and Golgari Thug. So there's a Dredge of 4, and now this will be a Dredge of 5. It's a Stinkweed Imp. Any Amalgams or Narcomoebas here for David? There's an Amalgam, and there's an Narcomoeba. Okay. So he's got a little something cooking. He's going to get the Dredge again for 3. A Reunion, along with a Blood Crypt and a Copperline Gorge.
Good, not great, that Dredge.
Well, here's the thing. He gets to get on the battlefield.
Yes.
Because Narcomoeba is going to come back, which means Amalgam's going to come back.
And that puts Driven to Despair online.
Good point. Good point. And now we're going to go back over to Collins, who's, you have to imagine, got some interest in removing the graveyard now with the Relic. So There's a loam and a Faithless Looting down there. He's just going to normally activate it.
I like that. Let's see if he messes up.
All right, Neonate, good choice. Colin's someone who's played a lot of Dredge, too, by the way. So he's very familiar with playing the deck. You have to imagine he's familiar with playing against it as a result. And we'll see what he wants to do here on, yes, believe it or not, only his second turn of the game. As David had a pretty nice second turn, though he did mulligan to 5.
Yeah, but now he's all set up. He can dredge that Life from the Loam, and there's a Faithless Looting for him to flash back. So very strong argument to be made for just, Collins getting the graveyard right now.
Stomping Ground is going to enter the battlefield untapped. Search for Tomorrow is going to go on suspend. And Collins may let David dredge? I'm not sure. This is kind of an interesting situation. Yeah, he's gonna just say go. So will David dredge or will David take a draw? He's gonna dredge Loam. 3 cards are gonna go into the graveyard. Looks like it may have been another Loam, a Stinkweed Imp, and a Copperline Gorge. So now we are still in David's draw step, perhaps. And Colin said, yeah, keep going. Playing with fire.
Yeah, well, that dredge didn't change anything.
Life from the Loam. Have to get back like a Copperline Gorge, a Blood Crypt, and a basic Mountain. Is that okay? And David's got a couple of cards in hand. See if Collins wants to pull the trigger on the Relic now. And it looks like the answer is yes. So, all these cards are going to go away. Collins will draw a card. Loam will resolve. Won't get any of its targets, but it'll be placed in the graveyard. So another Dredger down there. Now here's an attack for 4. Mullen's going to fall down to 13. And pass. Let's go back over to Collins.
Yeah, that worked out very well for Collins. David missed the land drop there, so he really needed those lands from the Life from the Loam. Being patient. Pretty good. This kid's got some promise.
I think so.
Yeah.
Here's a Farseek. That'll resolve, of course. No counter spells here for David Long. So we'll see what land Collins wants to search up. Could be time for a Cinderglade or a Stomping Ground. It'll be a Stomping Ground. And then we'll see if he's got a land to play. He's got the Search Tomorrow, suspend 1, so that's going to come off next turn. And Valakut will be the land he plays after the Farseek. Not really a lot he can do past that. Does have Scapeshift in hand, so that's something to work towards. And we'll pass the turn back. So we go over to David Long. Dredge Loam, 3 cards on the way. Faithless Looting, Golgari Thug, Stomping Ground. Not too bad, but I think the card worth mentioning is the Cathartic Reunion that David has in his hand, which means that his mulligan to 5 was excellent.
Yeah, it really was, but he's going to have to loan back the land here.
I don't think so.
Oh, he's starting this way, of course.
Yeah. So he's going to reunion. He's going to discard Imp and Thug, which means he's got 3 Dredgers in the graveyard. And if I'm David right now, my goal is to let's snap off some Narcomoebas and some Prize Amalgams.
No, yeah, you're definitely right. This is a better line to be taking.
Now it's going to be another Imp, so here come 5 more cards. Conflagrates in that Dredge 5. In the first one we saw Driven to Despair. And now here comes Thug, so here comes 4 more. Another copy of Driven to Despair. And there's a Dakmor Salvage in there.
Man, his creatures are being so elusive.
Yeah, no Amalgams, no Narcomoebas. This is kind of the annoying thing when you're playing Dredges. You're really hoping you hit those cards a lot of the time. Wasn't able to find them this go around. As there's a hit for 4-4 to knock Collins down to 9. Search going to come off suspend. And now if you're David, you're hoping you're not dead. But David is at 19.
Yep, not 18.
Not 18.
Definitely important.
Yep. There's the basic mountain.
We also haven't seen Bloodghast out of David Long's deck.
Yeah, I think there's one in the graveyard right now. There is. Just no land.
Yeah.
He is playing some Bloodghast. He's playing 4 copies as usual.
It's just so important to get some of these creatures on the board early. They're big payoffs for his Driven to Despair, and they're the clock that he needs against this Scapeshift deck.
And he's had some difficulty finding them. Tough thing, too, for David right now is that with regards to Despair, no black mana on the battlefield. Got a stomping around a mountain.
Yep.
Now, if he takes a draw step, maybe he spikes a black source. Who knows? We'll see assuming we get back to his turn.
But it would still only be discard 2.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that great. Well, he would get a hasty Bloodghast back.
Oh, that's true.
So it would be discard 3.
It could be discard 3.
Yeah. I like the idea of Driven to Despair in this deck, actually. It's a pretty sweet innovation.
Yeah, and as we've said, he's playing a lot of them. 2 in the main, 1 in the board. That's a lot.
It's not there on accident. Colin's going to take a little while on his turn. He's going to play a Cinderglade. That'll enter the battlefield untapped. Now he's going to play a Farseek. Looks like he might be thinking Cinderglade here, but he's going to go with Stomping Ground. This is kind of interesting because I think he might have some interest in just knocking him down to 1.
No. So the land that he just searched for dealt him David Long 3.
Ah, right. Okay.
And then the Scapeshift, as long as he has enough mountains, will deal another 18.
Okay. Good call, Kreggers. Turn 4 again, I think. Yeah, I think either turn 4 or turn 5 for Collins.
The turns took so long this game. I don't remember what turn we're.
Yeah. 3 mountains. Let's make it 4.
I'm sure he did this math before he took this line.
Yeah. That's 6 of them. 6 times 3 is 18. David Long at 16. Too little. Too late. As Collins Mullen's going to win this game and match here over David Long. 2-0. Scapeshift looking very impressive once again in the hands of Mullen, taking down David Long playing Dredge. So Collins moves up to 5-1, and David Long is going to slide down to 4-2. And that's a situation there, at least to me, where obviously David mulled to 5 that game.